Americans love scenery. We want to see it all, from one coast to the next, Mount Rushmore down to the Everglades. So hop into a Chevy Malibu and take the scenic route. It's the car you knew America could build. There's a place where people count on friendships they can trace back generations, where they can count on the same stool at the coffee shop waiting for them every morning. This place is called Glen Ellen, and you can find it in every bottle of Glen Ellen wine. This is craft brewed Herman Joseph's, the smoothest, easiest drinking specialty beer in the entire solar system. And I believe you'll find drinkable in the dictionary right after don't order a beer you can't drink. Zoingo! Boingo! The freestyle pogo with more boing, more bounce. Bounce further, bounce higher with Zoingo Boingo. To see what makes Arrowhead Mountain Spring water different from those other waters, you have to go back to the source. And with Arrowhead, that means going back a little farther and longer than most. Between security challenged and security strengthened, there's one important word: how. And it is the how that makes all the difference to our nation and our world. Lockheed Martin. We never forget who we're working for. What makes Kraft Singles so good? 2 out of every 3 kids don't get the recommended amount of calcium. But with Kraft Singles, they get a good source of calcium and the taste they love. Kraft Singles. Magic every single time. Throw boring overboard with a new real meal from Long John Silver's. A meal worthy of a plate, just $4.99. Only at Long John Silver's. We may not all be geniuses, but we can all do something smart. Introducing the Hyundai 199 Sonata Lease. It's a smart deal on a really smart car.
Stones, I love the Stones. I can't believe they're still doing it after all these years. Watch them whenever I can. Fred and Barney. We were in Salina, Utah when we were arrested for not going through a green light. We pleaded maybe. I was feeling good. I had just received my bachelor's degree in calcium anthropology, a study of milkmen. I was traveling with my friend George. Some people think George is weird because he has sideburns behind his ears. I think he's weird because he has false teeth, but he has braces on them. My girlfriend asked me if I slept good. I said no, I made a few mistakes. A lot of people are afraid of heights, not me. I'm afraid of widths. The police stopped me for speeding. They said, don't you know the speed limit is 55 miles an hour? I said, yeah, I know, but I wasn't going to be out that long. I live in an apartment building. Everybody who lives in the building is absolutely insane. The man who lives above me designed synthetic hairballs for ceramic cats. The woman who lives beside me tried to rob a department store with a pricing gun. She walked in and said, give me all the money in the vault or I'll mark down everything in the store.
Good morning. It's Thursday, Jordan Peterson Thursday, September the 4th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, motivation, meditation, and Jordan Peterson. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you, Maria. Then Varney and Company.
Democratize it a little bit more so that people feel like they have a little bit more of a stake in it and they understand what it's going to mean for their future. I think it's important. I think about, no offense, if my parents are watching, people like my parents who are like, especially my mom, like, I don't know what this AI is, but I need to be into it. I think moves like this by the First Lady help bring that more to the fore.
Yeah, and in education as well. All right, final thoughts, Mark Tepper. A lot happening this
A lot happening, and a lot of football over the next 5 days.
Oh, okay,
I'm very
we'll
excited. We have NFL today, tomorrow, college football all day Saturday, NFL Sunday, Monday. Super pumped. But from a stock market standpoint, I don't think anything that comes out of the non-farm payrolls number tomorrow is going to deter the Fed from cutting in a few weeks. That will still happen.
They could cut more if it's a really bad report.
It's true.
And, you know, to your football analogy, I like to watch football on Fox. That's just me. Yeah.
I'm going to take a trip to Negative Town, add up the total wins for our three teams. If that hits 15, I'd be shocked because your team's horrible, your team's on a downward spiral, and my team is still the Giants.
Oh, Mika Parsons.
Browns and Cowboys.
Yeah, there we go. All right, Mark Tepper, Ty Pyra. Great show, you guys. Thank you so much for being with me for the 3 hours. Varney and Company is up right now. Good morning, Stuart.
Hey, good morning, Cheryl, and good morning, everyone. Action on all fronts, and the president is at the center of it all. Today, he speaks with Ukraine's Zelensky. This follows an invite from Putin for Zelensky to visit Moscow. He's currently meeting with European leaders. Things seem stalled. Trump is frustrated. He says Putin will soon make a decision on peace talks. And Trump says if he's unhappy with Putin, you will see things happen. His words. The president wants things to happen at the Supreme Court. He wants a resolution of the dispute over tariffs. He's warning that if he's denied tariff power, we will become a third world nation. His words. Things are happening at the White House. Big tech leaders will meet in support of the First Lady's AI initiative. Then they'll be with the president for the presentation of the new Rose Garden. Big tech back at the White House. Elon Musk will not be there. To the markets. And first, take a look at the stock price of American Eagle. Their new ads featuring Sydney Sweeney are a big hit, up 25% in pre-market action, $17 a share. The rest of the market, I'm going to call it mixed. Dow Industrials up 7, S&P up 7, NASDAQ up 34 points. Not that much movement, but this is important. Interest rates down, disappointing jobs data, only 54,000 private sector jobs added, and look at this, the yield on the 10-year Treasury below 4.2%. The 2-year down around 3.61%, yields down. Bitcoin quoted at 110.9, that's the latest we have on that. On the show today, following the takedown of a drug-running fast boat, the president says there's more where that came from. He's taking aim at the cartels and maybe Venezuela's dictator Maduro. Regime change? Well, Defense Secretary Hegseth says we're prepared with every asset that American military has, end quote. Florida ends all vaccine mandates, including in schools. Today, his secretary, RFK Jr., HHS Secretary, RFK Jr., he's going to testify before Congress, and he'll be defending the high staff turnover among vaccine specialists. The Brits take action on energy drinks. They want to ban them for youngsters under age 16. There's a proposal, ban them all under 16. We'll take a look at free speech in the UK. Now, as a boy growing up in Britain, we were always proud of our free speech tradition. Back then, we said it all the time. We're a free country. Say what you like. These days, I'm not so sure. Thursday, September 4th, 2025.
He's not so sure. Well, how can you be not sure? Either it is a free country and you can speak freely, or you can't. There's nothing to be not sure about unless you're scared. And that's what I believe Stewart is. He's scared to death. He's part of the cult of fear. Back in a minute.
You ever notice how a real laugh can shake something loose inside you? The kind of laugh that steals your breath and leaves your ribs aching. That's not just entertainment. That's your body remembering how to let go, how to drop the weight you've been carrying. And it only gets stronger in a room full of people. One laugh becomes 10, 10 becomes 100, and suddenly the whole place is rolling. That's not an algorithm. That's not a headline. That's human connection. That's proof we still belong to each other. And right now, with all the noise and division, we need that more than ever. We need a place where the stress breaks, where the weight lifts, where we remember how good it feels to just laugh together. That's what's happening in Gladewater, September 19th and 20th.
And that was Jerry Wayne. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, a little bit of motivation.
I don't know what that dream is that you have. I don't care how far-fetched it might appear to be. I don't care how disappointing it might have been as you've been working toward that dream. But here's what I know, that dream that you're holding in your mind, that it's possible. See, sometimes we can't say, I can do that. But what we can say, that it's possible.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, meditation.
Welcome to this 5-minute meditation designed to help you harness the power of gratitude for true change. Find a comfortable position. Gently close your eyes and take a deep breath in. Exhale slowly and allow your mind to grow still. Take 2 more deep, slow breaths, each one bringing you deeper into calm. Now, imagine yourself standing in the center of infinite abundance. See streams of golden light pouring down from the universe. Flowing from the angels of wealth into your life. Imagine money, opportunities, and blessings raining down on you, surrounding you, filling every part of your being. Repeat silently, I live in absolute abundance. I live in absolute abundance. I live in absolute abundance. Let this vision become so real that no other thought can exist in your mind. Now bring to life the exact experiences you desire. See deposits flowing into your account. See customers arriving with joy. See successful deals, wealth coming to you in countless forms. Feel it in your heart as if it has already happened. Allow yourself to smile, to feel the joy of receiving, spending, and investing with freedom. And now, step fully into gratitude. With passion, repeat silently, thank you, thank you, thank you for the wealth I have received. Thank you for the opportunities, the success, and the abundance in my life. Let this gratitude expand inside of you, overflowing with energy, joy, and certainty. Know that every thought creates a wave, and every wave returns to you multiplied. Carry this feeling beyond meditation. During your day, recall this vision and emotion to stay in the frequency of abundance. Do this practice 3 times a day for just 3 days, and you will be amazed at the results. Take one last deep breath in. Exhale gently. And when you are ready, softly open your eyes. Carrying abundance and gratitude with you into your life. Thank you for joining this session.
And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now another example about winning just with a single word. Here's an Instagram account, and it's Mega Club 2025, and it's from England apparently, and it says, Birmingham Council tore down British flags, calling them dangerous. Now, right away, that word should just jump out at you as being a rather odd choice of words, right? Dangerous? That doesn't make it much sense at all. So why are they using that? Simple, because they refuse to acknowledge right and wrong. They want to say wrong, but they can't do it because it goes against their doctrine, their left-wing doctrine. There is no right, there is no wrong, there's no hierarchies, so you have to find words to substitute. So you listen for that. Listen for words that stick out and seem out of place. And think about it for a second, and you'll probably realize what they're trying to do. They're trying to avoid using the word right or wrong. So in this particular case, the way to deal with that is to simply ask them, dangerous, you mean, is it wrong? And then they're going to say, oh, no. They'll back off real quick. No, I didn't say that. And at that point, you step in and say, thank you very much. You have a nice day. Boom. And winner, chicken dinner. Okay? Back in a minute. Thank you. And now this is from the X account called Xavier DeRusso.
Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity.
When are we going to stop worrying more about protecting trans kids rather than protecting kids from trans? I'm not demonizing the entire group, but you have to be radically unserious to not see the correlation between treating a mental health disorder like it's a privilege and their growing fixation with using violence to get their point across. Nothing about their motive is difficult to understand. You have the recent Catholic school shooter using Jesus as target practice while viewing himself as the devil and simultaneously regretting transitioning. And Gavin Newsom thinking that it's funny to make fun of deceased children for being murdered during prayer is something that I thought was even beneath someone like you.
Anybody?
And that was, again, Xavier, as spelled, let me see if I can get the whole, actually, if you want to find it, is at XAVIAERD. And that was on X. Now, what was interesting about this that Xavier missed was when this guy was talking about this trans. Let's see if we can find it again.
Stan,
here.
You have the recent
anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there.
Okay, now at this particular point, you figure any normal person says, well, he's going to say that anybody's using this as an opportunity to villainize is wrong. Let's see what it does say.
Has lost their sense of common humanity.
There we go. So again, this is their weak spot right here. They cannot, and for the most part, I think unless they're forced to, will not say right or wrong. They won't say that the villainization is good, bad, right, or wrong. And that's the place. So if you go to work and Sammy Socialist wants to quote this to you, hey, anybody who demonizes trans folks is lost their sense of common humanity. You can say, yeah, but are they wrong? And watch what they do. More than likely, Sammy Socialist is going to say, oh, he's going to start backing up. He's going to panic. No, I'm not saying that. And then that's when you get to say, oh, okay, thank you very much. Maybe we'll talk later. Have a nice day. Winner, chicken dinner. Thank you. And now, Jordan Peterson.
There comes a moment in the journey of dealing with those who manipulate, deceive, and try to control your emotions that something shifts. It may be subtle at first, a small feeling, an internal shift that feels almost imperceptible. But over time, you begin to notice it more clearly. It's the realization that slowly but surely you've regained your power. You've taken back control of your life from the person who once held it hostage. It's not a simple victory. It is the product of hard-won clarity, emotional fortitude, and a willingness to stand firm in your own reality despite the distortions others may try to impose on you. When you set out to reclaim your life from the chaos of toxic relationships, one of the first and most critical steps is learning to recognize and enforce boundaries. Boundaries are the walls that protect you, the lines in the sand that separate your inner world, your autonomy, your selfhood from the external pressures and influences that seek to invade, distort, or control it. Without these boundaries, we risk losing ourselves entirely to the whims and manipulations of others. But what are boundaries really? They are not rigid defensive walls meant to isolate or shield you from the world, nor are they an excuse for emotional distance or avoidance. Instead, they are the clear, articulated statements of what you will accept and what you will not accept from others. They are personal and individual, based on your values, your needs, your history, and your current emotional, mental, and spiritual state. And when it comes to navigating the often tumultuous dynamics with a narcissist, they are non-negotiable. The first step in building healthy boundaries is recognizing where they have been violated. A narcissist's modus operandi involves constant manipulation and the erosion of your personal space, both emotionally and mentally. They thrive on blurring the lines between themselves and others, seeking to control, dominate, and distort your sense of reality. But the moment you begin to see through their tricks and acknowledge the emotional and mental strain they've placed on you, you are already at the first point of empowerment. It's easy to get caught in the cycle of self-doubt when confronted with such manipulation. A narcissist will try to convince you that your boundaries are unreasonable, that they are overstepping because they care, or that you are too sensitive, too rigid, too selfish. This gaslighting, the psychological manipulation that makes you question your own sanity, is one of their most powerful tools. But as you begin to rebuild your self-awareness, you will start to realize that your boundaries are not merely preferences. They are essential to your well-being. They are the measures by which you ensure that your identity is not subsumed by someone else's desires or whims. At first, enforcing these boundaries can feel uncomfortable, even foreign. You may have spent so long accommodating the needs of the other person that you've forgotten how to advocate for your own. You may feel guilty for saying no, for drawing that line, for asserting that your needs matter. But it's important to remember that the ability to set boundaries is a sign of health, not selfishness. Healthy relationships, whether personal or professional, depend on mutual respect for each other's space and individual needs. If you're in a dynamic where one person's needs always take precedence over the others, the relationship is inherently unbalanced and damaging. The act of saying no, of asserting your right to peace and stability, is an act of personal power. It says, I will no longer let my world be distorted by another's emotional turbulence. It acknowledges that you are worthy of respect, that your emotional, mental, and physical well-being are sacred. And when you begin to act from this place of self-respect, you not only protect yourself from further manipulation, but you also begin to reclaim the emotional energy that was once drained away by the narcissist's demands. At this point, it is crucial to understand that boundaries are not just about saying no. They are about saying yes to yourself. Boundaries are the means by which you affirm your right to your own life. By asserting your needs, you tell yourself that you are important, that your desires and well-being are worth defending. This is not an easy process, especially when you've been conditioned to prioritize someone else's needs over your own. But with practice, you'll find that standing firm in your boundaries becomes a liberating act. It allows you to reconnect with yourself, to listen to your own voice, and to make decisions based on your own values and goals rather than out of fear or obligation. As you set and enforce boundaries, you will also notice something else. The more you stand your ground, the more the narcissist's tactics will lose their effectiveness. They may lash out initially, they may try to manipulate or guilt you into compliance, but eventually they will see that you are no longer an easy target. The more consistently you maintain your boundaries, the less power they have over you. Over time, their capacity to control or manipulate your emotional state will begin to diminish because they will recognize that you are no longer an active participant in and their drama. And this process, though difficult, is also transformative. As you begin to assert your boundaries, you are not just changing the dynamics with the narcissist. You are changing the way you relate to yourself. You are learning to value yourself, to trust yourself, to believe that you deserve peace, respect, and autonomy. The moment you start taking this power back, you will begin to notice changes within yourself. You will become more confident, more assertive, and ultimately more free. Your sense of identity will no longer be a reaction to the demands and manipulations of others. Instead, it will be rooted in your own values, beliefs, and goals, allowing you to move through life with a greater sense of clarity, purpose, and self-assurance. The process of reclaiming your power after being involved with a narcissistic individual is a long and painful journey. It involves, above all else, the recognition of your own worth and the acceptance that your needs, your feelings, and your personal identity matter just as much as anyone else's. This may sound simple in theory, but the narcissist has a way of making you feel as though you are secondary to their existence, a mere accessory to their story. They are masters of manipulation, experts at sowing seeds of doubt in your mind and slowly eroding your sense of self. The recovery, then, is not just about cutting ties with them. It's about reclaiming the strength to stand firm in the knowledge that you are worthy of better. The narcissist, through their behavior, teaches you to question your own reality. They may gaslight you, deny your experiences, and twist your perceptions until you no longer trust your own judgment. And in many ways, this becomes the crux of the issue. The narcissist's influence is not just about their actions or words. It's about their ability to make you feel small, insignificant, and powerless. For many, this slowly leads to a diminished sense of self-worth. But the moment you realize that this manipulation was a systematic effort to undermine you, the process of reclamation begins. That realization, no matter how painful, is the first step to recovery. Reclaiming your power involves the conscious decision to stop allowing that influence to dictate how you view yourself. One of the most critical components of this is learning to trust your instincts again. The narcissist is often skilled at twisting the narrative, making you second-guess yourself, questioning whether you're imagining things or whether you're being overly sensitive. But as you begin to heal, you will start to recognize that your instincts were never wrong. You are simply conditioned to ignore them, to subjugate them to the demands of someone else. The more you listen to yourself, the clearer the truth becomes. At first, this may not feel easy. It may feel like a delicate process of reassembling pieces of your identity, slowly putting yourself back together in a way that feels solid and genuine. You may find yourself second-guessing whether you are making the right decision, whether you truly have the strength to break free from the patterns of behavior that have been ingrained in you. These feelings are normal, and in many ways they signal that you are pushing through the discomfort of growth. It's important to understand that you will not be healed overnight. Healing is not linear. Some days it will feel like you've made significant progress, and other days it may seem like the past is pulling you back into its grasp. But with each day that you choose to reclaim your voice, your power, your identity, you are breaking free from the narcissist's grip. And in time, the grip weakens. What's particularly insidious about narcissistic abuse is that the damage is often invisible. The narcissist's primary goal is not just to control you, but to distort your perception of reality. They want you to believe that you are incapable of making your own decisions, that your feelings and needs are irrelevant. This is why their manipulation often goes unnoticed at first, because they cloak it in words that seem innocent or even caring. It is only when you step back and look at the broader picture that you can see how the manipulation has influenced every aspect of your life. To reassert control over your life, it is essential to take a deep look at the patterns of behavior that were established during your time with the narcissist. This is where the work really begins. It's not enough to simply cut ties with them. You have to actively work to untangle the web they have spun around you. This may involve rebuilding relationships with others, seeking therapy or counseling, and most importantly, learning to trust yourself again. You will also need to develop the resilience to deal with the inevitable pushback from the narcissist when they realize their influence over you is slipping away. They may resort to anger, guilt tripping, or even attempts at manipulation, trying to drag you back into their world. But with each step you take in reclaiming your power, you become more equipped to handle these tactics. And one of the most empowering realizations you'll have as you move forward is that you don't need validation from others, especially not from someone who has spent so much time trying to devalue you. Your value is intrinsic. It's not dependent on how someone else perceives you, nor is it determined by how much you are willing to sacrifice for others. You have the right to live for yourself, to honor your own needs and desires without constantly seeking permission or approval from anyone else. As your sense of self-worth grows, you will find that you are able to engage in healthier, more balanced relationships. The narcissist, by contrast, will remain mired in their need for control and admiration. Their world, built on the manipulation of others, will begin to collapse in on itself as the people they've used and discarded in their lives begin to see through their tactics. Their need to dominate, to maintain a false image of perfection, is a fragile construct, and it is only a matter of time before it unravels. Meanwhile, you will have reclaimed your autonomy, and with it, the freedom to live a life that is truly your own. And while the process may have taken time, the strength and clarity that come from it will continue to shape your life for years to come. The journey to reclaiming your power from a narcissist is not a simple one, nor is it an easy one. It requires a deep, often uncomfortable process of self-examination, challenging deeply held beliefs about yourself and the world around you. The narcissist's primary weapon is manipulation through control, deceit, and an insidious undermining of your sense of reality. This is often a gradual process, so slow and subtle that you don't even realize what is happening at first, that make you doubt your thoughts, your feelings, your instincts. Over time, this constant undermining erodes your self-esteem and leaves you questioning your worth. The process of taking your power back then begins with recognizing the way this manipulation has shaped your life. To understand how to regain your sense of self, it is important to realize that the narcissist operates within a specific psychological framework. They are driven by a need for control, a need to be admired, and a need to maintain a false sense of superiority. They are not concerned with your well-being or your emotional needs. They are concerned only with how you serve their desires and how they can feed off your validation. This, fundamentally, is the narcissist's core mode of operation. They will use charm, flattery, and guilt to manipulate you into serving their needs, all the while making you feel that you are unworthy or inadequate when it comes to your own. When you begin to recognize this behavior, you also begin to see how deeply you have been affected by it. The narcissist will often make you feel as though your needs are insignificant or that you are somehow selfish for wanting things from the relationship. You might even find yourself apologizing for things that weren't your fault or feeling guilty for expressing emotions. This confusion is part of their design to keep you off balance and prevent you from standing firm in your own truth. But when you realize that this dynamic exists, you are no longer a passive participant in it. You begin to see how you've been trained to prioritize their needs over your own, how your identity has been shaped by their perception of you rather than by your own internal values. The next stage in reclaiming your power involves the ability to differentiate between the truth of your own feelings and the distortion that the narcissist has worked so hard to impose upon you. This is a critical moment in the process because you must begin to reassert your voice, to recognize that your feelings and experiences are valid. The narcissist thrives on making you doubt yourself, to cast you into a perpetual state of confusion. But when you start to see the manipulation for what it is, you start to regain control over your own perceptions. This may require a radical rethinking of your beliefs about yourself, about others, and about the nature of relationships in general. You may have to unlearn some of the patterns you've internalized over time, beliefs that have kept you small, that have kept you from trusting your own judgment, and that have kept you bound to the narcissist. Once you've begun to see through the narcissist's false narrative, you will need to reinforce your personal boundaries. Narcissists are often skilled at breaking down barriers, finding ways to invade your personal space, emotionally, mentally, and even physically. Establishing clear and firm boundaries is critical in protecting yourself from further manipulation and damage. This process is not easy because it often feels uncomfortable to stand up for yourself in a direct and firm way. It goes against the grain of everything you've been taught by the narcissist, who has likely convinced you that setting boundaries is selfish or inappropriate. But the reality is that boundaries are essential for maintaining your integrity, your self-respect, and your ability to function in healthy relationships. Reclaiming your power involves regaining the narrative that you must always accommodate the needs of others, especially when those needs come at the expense of your own. As you continue to heal and regain control of your life, you will likely find that your emotional reactions begin to change. You may experience moments where you realize that you no longer feel as reactive to the narcissist's manipulation, that their attempts to provoke you no longer hold the same power over you. This is a sign that you are reasserting control over your emotional responses. So the narcissist, whose identity is built on manipulating others, relies on your emotional reactions to validate their existence. When you stop responding in ways that fulfill their needs, their power over you begins to dissipate. You become less vulnerable to their attacks, less susceptible to the emotional games they play. It is through this emotional detachment that you truly begin to heal and reclaim your power. But even as you regain control over your emotions and your boundaries, there is another challenge that often arises: the narcissist's attempt to undermine your progress. Narcissists don't let go easily, and they often come back in one form or another, attempting to reassert their influence. They may use guilt, charm, or manipulation to draw you back into their world. This is where your strength of character becomes crucial. You must remain steadfast in your commitment to your own well-being, recognizing that every time you entertain their attempts to reconnect, you are allowing them to infiltrate your life again. True power comes from the ability to remain firm in the face of this pressure, to refuse to engage with their toxic behavior, and to continue building a life that is centered around your own values and goals. Finally, one of the most important aspects of reclaiming your power is the understanding that you are deserving of a life free from manipulation, free from the emotional toll of narcissistic abuse. The narcissist's world is one of deceit, falsehoods, and an insatiable need for admiration. Their power over you exists because they have convinced you that you are unworthy, that your needs are secondary, and that their desires must always come first. Reclaiming your power means rejecting that false narrative and embracing the truth of your own inherent value. It means recognizing that you have the right to exist in the world without constantly being subject to the whims of someone else. As you do this, you will find that your confidence grows, that your self-worth solidifies, and that your emotional independence becomes a source of strength. And with that strength, you begin to build a future where the narcissist's hold on you is no longer a part of the equation. It is essential to recognize that the process of reclaiming your power from a narcissist is not simply a matter of severing ties or walking away. It is a process that begins deep within at the level of your own psychology. The narcissist's influence, for all its destructiveness, is rooted in your own vulnerabilities, your own sense of self, and your relationship to others. To free yourself from their grip, you must understand that their power over you is ultimately the result of a distortion or a manipulation of your reality, your worth, and your perception of relationships. The first step in this reclaiming process is understanding how the narcissist operates. Narcissists are at their core driven by an insatiable need for admiration and control. They see people not as individuals with their own agency, but as objects that can be manipulated for their own gratification. The narcissist world is one in which they are at the center and everyone else exists merely to reflect their greatness. Right? This is a fundamental aspect of their personality structure. Their need for admiration, validation, and dominance often goes unchecked because they employ a range of tactics to maintain control over those around them. They will gaslight, devalue, and exploit others to secure their position of superiority, all the while maintaining a facade of charm, charisma, and even vulnerability. For you, the victim of this manipulation, it is critical to recognize that the narcissist behavior is not a reflection of your inadequacy, but rather an indication of their dysfunction. Narcissists thrive on the psychological energy of others. They need to feel powerful, superior, and adored. And to maintain that sense of superiority, they must keep others in a state of subjugation, self-doubt, and insecurity. They are constantly feeding off the validation they get from others, and the more they can erode your confidence and sense of self, the more they can maintain their false sense of grandeur. This is why their behavior is so damaging. It chips away at your sense of identity, leaving you questioning your worth and your ability to trust your own thoughts. And the next stage in reclaiming your power involves recognizing the distortions that the narcissist has implanted in your psyche. Over time, their manipulations can cause you to doubt your own perceptions and instincts. You may begin to second-guess yourself, feel confused, or feel as though you are always walking on eggshells. You might find yourself apologizing for things you didn't do, or feeling guilty for expressing your needs. This self-doubt is a critical aspect of the narcissistic relationship, as the narcissist works to convince you that you are somehow broken or unworthy of respect. To reclaim your power, you must first reconnect with your own truth. This means questioning everything you've been told by the narcissist about yourself, your value, and your needs. So this is not an easy process because it requires a fundamental shift in how you see yourself and the world around you. Narcissists manipulate not just your behavior, but your very worldview. They create a narrative in which they are always right, always justified, and always deserving of special treatment. They craft a reality in which your needs are irrelevant and their desires are paramount. To break free from this narrative, you must start to build a new framework for understanding yourself and your relationships. This process involves a great deal of introspection as well as the courage to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself and your past. You must be willing to accept that you are not the problem. The problem is the manipulation, the control, the exploitation that the narcissist has inflicted upon you. As you begin to see through the narcissist's manipulations, you will need to set clear and firm boundaries. This is crucial because narcissists will continue to try to exploit you unless you make it clear that you will no longer tolerate their behavior. Setting boundaries is not about being cruel or vindictive. It's about protecting your emotional and psychological well-being. Narcissists are expert boundary violators, and they will push, prod, and attempt to breach the lines you draw. This is why it is so important to maintain a firm stance. They will test you, trying to see if you are serious about enforcing those boundaries. At this point, you must be prepared to stand your ground. You must understand that these boundaries are non-negotiable, and that any attempt by the narcissist to break them is a violation that cannot be allowed to go unchecked. The act of setting boundaries is also about reclaiming your own agency and autonomy. For far too long, the narcissist has sought to control your actions, your emotions, and your life choices. To regain your power, you must take back the right to make decisions for yourself. This means saying no when you need to, speaking up when you are uncomfortable, and standing firm in your convictions. It may be uncomfortable at first, especially if you have been conditioned to prioritize the narcissist's needs over your own, but it is an essential part of the process of healing and reclaiming your power. As you continue to implement these changes in your life, you will begin to notice shifts in your emotional responses. The narcissist's attempts to provoke or manipulate you will lose their potency. You will find that you no longer react in the same way. The emotional pull they once had over you will begin to fade, and with it, their power over you will diminish. This is a sign that you are regaining control over your own emotional landscape. Narcissists thrive on emotional reactions. They want to provoke you, elicit a response, and then use that response to maintain their sense of control. When you stop reacting, you stop feeding into their manipulation. The more emotionally detached you become, the less power they have over you. One of the final steps in this process of reclaiming your power is learning to trust yourself again. This is often the hardest part because narcissists spend so much time undermining your confidence and sowing seeds of doubt that it can be difficult to believe in your own judgment. But the truth is that you are capable of making sound decisions, of discerning what is best for you, and of acting in your own best interest. The narcissist's manipulation cannot erase the strength that lies within you. As you continue to set boundaries, trust your instincts, and disengage from the narcissist's influence, you will begin to rebuild your self-confidence. This is the true path to freedom, not simply walking away, but reclaiming your autonomy, your self-worth, and your ability to trust yourself again.
And that was Jordan Peterson. And I like Mr. Peterson because he's very forthright. He is direct, he's to the point, and he is unequivocal. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative of the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there and reminding you that determinism is a choice.